Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Mike Atwood, and I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Now not a board member, so I can enjoy the evening tonight. I want to first welcome you and thank you for coming to the Candidates Forum. We've done this several years now, several elections, and I've gotten very good feedback that the Chamber just likes to have an opportunity for candidates to get together and to talk. I have a couple of things I'm going to read in terms of the ground rules. Let's see. So I'll go ahead and read the format to you. Each city council candidate is going to be given an opening statement of no more than 1.5 minutes and a closing statement of no more than 1.5 minutes. And Scott up here is going to do the time, and he's got cards for you, and he'll give you cues at what do you have there, Scott, on the time? Your cards, what do you have on the warnings? 30 and 10 seconds left on the warning, so he'll give you cues on that. Opening order will be determined by a lottery, and the opportunity to answer questions first will rotate. So what we're going to do is we had the lottery earlier, and we're going to start with Lisa on the opening statement, and then what we will do is we'll go down the line, so just to your left will be the opportunity to start the next question as we go down the road. The Chamber will have a set of opening questions submitted for members, board members, and the public. Audience members will submit written questions or may submit written questions. These will be screened to avoid duplication and will be asked by the moderator. These questions will be only issues questions. All candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. And so you have cards on the chairs there. If you have a question as we go through this or something comes to mind, write it down and hold it up, and somebody from the chamber will come get it. We encourage the candidates to remain issue focused. I will say this, we're not looking for a debate, okay, here. We're really trying to just get your opinion on the issues. So in your responses, we really would ask that you would focus your response on the issue and your opinion on the issue, and not what you believe may be another candidate's opinion on the issue. If you do that, I will just say we will likely give the other candidate a short, maybe 30-second opportunity to just respond to that, but I will say we prefer that you not do that, okay? So stay issue focused. The forum is being taped and will be shown on a local access channel. And just in general to the audience, I would say we want to really maintain a very professional atmosphere here, so keep any of your reactions to yourself in a professional environment, if that's fair to say, okay? So that's how we've got it set up, so we'll go ahead and start with opening statements, and I just ask as you start to introduce yourself, but I do have first, we are missing one candidate, and that is Tom Reed, and Tom is a current alderman and submitted a written statement that I'm going to read for him, and would have for anyone else who couldn't have been here. It's very brief. It just says, Chamber of Commerce Monticello, thank you for putting on the Candidates Forum. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend due to a previously scheduled important business meeting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. To the voters in Ward 4, I would ask for your support in the upcoming election in order to help keep Monticello going in the right direction. Respectfully, Tom Reed, Ward 4 Alderman, and Republican candidate for Ward 4 in the upcoming election. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with opening statements, and we will start with Lisa Benecamper. Do you have microphones up there? Or no?
Yeah, they're on both sides.
Yeah.
So glad I get to go first. I'm Lisa Benecamper, and I am running for alderman in Ward 2. I live in the Ridgepoint subdivision with my family, my husband Ryan, and our 2 boys. Tanner is 11 in 4th grade, and Nolan is 7 in 1st grade. There are a huge reasons why I'm running. We chose Monticello as a place to live. We've been here almost 11 years. We hadn't had any opportunities to go to other towns, but Monticello was the town that we chose to raise our children in. I can also probably say that my parents that live up in Chicagoland have also purchased a property that they're going to be retiring here too and spending time. So not only have my husband and I fallen in love with the town, so have my parents. So I just want to do what I can to support the community and continue hopefully to have grandchildren raised here as well. So I look forward to a future for Monticello. I think it's a wonderful town. I think there's wonderful things happening here. I think there's wonderful opportunity to move forward. I think there's wonderful schools, businesses, and I just am excited for the future of it. I believe that I would be a great candidate in alderman just because I do offer some diversity to the current board, which I think is wonderful, but I also think it's great to have a different point of view. I have 10 seconds left, so thank you very much.
Good evening, my name is Seth Melton. I'm running for alderman for Ward 2. I'd like to thank the Chamber for putting this event on tonight, and also Crossroads for hosting the event. I am a native son of Monticello, having been raised here, gone through the school system, grown up in this community. I know how truly special it is. My wife and I purposely chose to move back to Monticello to raise our family here. I want my two little girls, Maddie and Avery, to grow up and get the childhood experience and the community kind of involvement that I did here in Monticello. And so I'm very vested in Monticello and the community, and I want to try and do my part to give back. And that's kind of why I'm wanting to run for city council, so I can serve as a good representative of the voters of Ward 2, try and keep open lines of communication between the city and the residents of Ward 2, trying to be approachable and transparent, make sure that information is going both ways, and most importantly, be a positive influence both for Ward 2 and the city of Monticello. Thank you for your time this evening and for this opportunity.
My name is Cochran Keating, and I'm an unopposed write-in candidate for Ward 3. There came a time when nobody, including myself, had filed a petition for alderman representing that ward. So the very next day I went and filled out a declaration of write-in candidacy. As of February 2nd or 3rd, no one else had filled in a competing one, so it looks like I'm unopposed in early April. My wife and family and I started looking for a town close to Champaign-Urbana about 9 years ago so that we could raise our children here, so that she could finish her PhD, and so that I could work as a voice talent that I have been most of my life in the city of Chicago. We would be roughly equidistant from Chicago, St. Louis, and Indianapolis. So it was a beautiful place to live, with low tax structure, excellent school system, great demographic, and great quality of life. I was director of tourism at the Chamber of Commerce in St. Augustine, Florida. She was the economic development director. Since moving here, I've been a member of the Chamber of Commerce, the Education Foundation, Rotary Club, director of Main Street, Area Arts Council, and treasurer of the Monticello United Methodist Church. My goals over the next 4 years, you'll discover during this forum tonight. Nice to meet you if I haven't already.
My name is Brian Fulton, and I'm running for Ward 4 Alderman on the Monticello City Council. I'd first like to thank the Monticello Chamber of Commerce and Crossroads Church for hosting us tonight. It's a wonderful venue and opportunity for the citizens of Monticello to get to know their candidates. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a superhero. I remember getting frostbite on my wrists from snow packed under my gloves as I dove into snowdrift after snowdrift, pretending to be Superman. When I was in high school, I was elected student council president, where my proudest achievement was our organization's public outreach program to shovel out elderly citizens during heavy snowfalls. Twice in one winter, 10 to 15 high school students have shoveled 8 driveways. Today, I serve on the board of directors for the Monticello Area Education Foundation, and I have recently served on the comprehensive planning committee for the city of Monticello. The one constant running throughout these stories and my life is a strong desire to help my fellow citizens. I want to make a difference. This is the reason I want to serve on the city council. I think we have a wonderful community. 12 years ago, when my wife Kate and I moved to Monticello, we did so because of the wonderful opportunities that lay before our young family, right here in this town. But having a wonderful community in the past does not mean that we should rest on our laurels. Nor should we think that continuing to do the things the same way will yield the same results. The reason that I have been walking all over Ward 4 in the frigid temperatures this campaign season is because I still think, just like that little boy diving in the snowdrifts, that I can make a difference in the lives of our citizens of our community. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this forum. My name is Joe Brown. I'm running for Alderman in Ward 1. I'm a graduate of Monticello High School, as are 7 siblings, 4 nieces and nephews, and with any luck, my 2 kids. I've lived here in the 70s and moved back in 1999. I'm a graduate of Parkland and Portland State University. I taught accounting for 7 years as a consultant in an accounting software company, and I owned an accounting software consulting business. I've been in the computer industry since 1985, and I work at the University of Illinois as a senior management methods analyst since 2006. I served 24 years in the United States Army Reserve as an intelligence analyst. I retired from the Army in 1999 at the rank of Sergeant Major, a rank only 1% of soldiers in the United States Army Reserve attain. Fun fact. I know that sounds quite rare, but there are 3 others, Sergeant Majors, living in Monticello. I know my last duty was to oversee the management and operations of 4 battalion S2s as a Division S2 Sergeant Major. I'm asking for, and I would appreciate your vote on April 7th.
First, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Chamber's members for their opportunity to allow us to express our views in this open public forum. Some of our views and issues are going to be represented here tonight. My name is Tim Hayes. I've been Alderman for Ward 1 for 12 years now, and prior to that, I was Alderman in Ward 1 back in the mid-70s. So I've been an Alderman quite a while. And that's not to say that I get everything right. We still learn all the time. Our right to vote is one of the most precious freedoms that our Constitution gives us, and every vote counts, as I can well attest. So please take the time and make the effort and be an informed municipal voter on April the 7th. Despite the distractions created by a few, we have still been able to move forward with solid financial strength in the county, to be named one of the 50 safest cities in Illinois and one of the 50 best suburbs, although I don't view Monticello as a suburb. It's our own city of Monticello. Our city staff and public works are, without a doubt, some of the best in the state. Our fire department has lowered our ISO, and we've had, that's unheard of for a volunteer department. Anyway, I think we've got a great town, and I'd like to see it continue to move forward.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Jones, and I'm a candidate for Ward 1 Alderman. First, like everybody else, I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Crossroads Church for hosting us here tonight, and all of you for taking time out of your schedules in this wonderful weather that we're having outside to be here tonight. My wife and I have been residents of Monticello for almost 18 years. Teresa, my wife, is a Monticello graduate. I graduated from BMAN, but she had me anyway. And we have 2 beautiful daughters. My oldest, a Monticello graduate in 2013, is currently serving in the United States Coast Guard in Yorktown, Virginia. And my youngest, who's here tonight with us, will be a 2018 graduate. Both have, of course, spent their entire life in Monticello. As I spoke with other residents, one question, as I'm sure you can guess, was always asked: why are you running? And I'm running because I feel we need to take a more analytical approach to city governance. Too often we allow emotion to interfere with good decision making, and the result is budget deficit, as we see in our most recent budget, and a focus on wants instead of needs. In addition, As a longtime advocate for open government, I feel that our city government has not been as transparent as it could be. As an alderman, I promise to fight at every turn to increase public visibility into the decision-making, budgeting, and general operation of the city. Looking ahead, it's important to prepare for an uncertain future while striving to retain the excellent level of city services that we've had in the past. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. So we're going to go ahead and go into some questions, and the first one is we're going to start with Mr. Melton and go that direction back around. I will say as a reminder, if you have any questions, fill them out on the note card next to you and hold them up or bring them back to Steve Tenhouse. So these questions we've sort of got them organized into four basic groups. One is what I call general candidate questions. Second is a little bit about the business environment, because we're the Chamber of Commerce, we're interested in that. City operations, and then budget and finance. So start on some general questions. Please outline the top 3 issues that you would like to tackle if elected, and which one is most important to you.
If elected alderman.
Hang on just a second, we'll get you a... Scott, you already said that.
Okay, if elected alderman, 3 of the issues that I think I would want to make sure were addressed, and the most important being parks and recreation in general, and increasing kind of the youth activity and engagement in the park and rec programs, but more importantly, the complex project that is underway. I'd like to make sure that that comes to fruition and starts being used and can be the, I think, attraction that it should and could be for the city. I also think that just being a liaison between the city and the residents is very important. I'd want to make sure that I was a conduit for information, making sure that the residents felt connected to the city and what was going on and were well informed. And then lastly, I think that just maintaining the low cost of living, low crime rate, making sure our utility rates and property taxes stay in the ranges they are, which is right now one of the lowest around. Thank you.
I think that the top 3 issues that are facing the city of Monticello in the next few years are improving the wastewater treatment plant and arranging for the financing of same, how to deal with a potential cut in funding from the state, with the governor proposing that the state cut 50% of the income tax sharing with the cities in the state of Illinois. And the other issue is continuing attention to infrastructure, maintaining the streets and the city. When elected, because again I'm unimposed, my goals are, and there are 3 of them, to advocate for our downtown merchants and to create therefore higher levels of retail sales. It's good for the businesses and it's good for the government because it provides revenue for our city government. To do that, we need more jobs, and to get more jobs, we need to find more employers who are willing to set up shop here. We also need more visitors to the historic downtown area. Economic development has got to be one of my main concerns. There's background in that in St. Augustine, both in my advertising past and also my wife's experience, and I'd like to help the city work on that. Toward that end, continued smooth relationship with Parkland to provide trained employees for business. And finally, I'd like to be an advocate for the arts in Monticello, knowing that adds so much to our quality of life. Thanks.
I think it's very difficult to narrow one's position down to just 3. Choosing the top 3 can be difficult in and of itself. There are varied issues that I have concern for, and varied issues that I think the council can approach. If I did have to choose my top 3, economic development would be the top priority. The sales tax revenue is currently our 2nd highest stream of revenue after the property replacement tax. That economic development would be twofold. One would be a downtown business development plan. I had a chance to sit down with Bill Hayworth of Pearlsmore Jewelry this evening, talk to him about that plan. He seemed excited about it. He thinks it's something that could be very successful for our community. Additionally, I'd like to see us approach technical businesses. I believe the fiber optic cable that has recently been installed in our community is of great value, not only to the citizens, but for most importantly to technological businesses, consulting, engineering, healthcare, businesses that transfer a significant amount of information across a wide broadband. The second most important thing for me would be the infrastructure, the wastewater treatment plants, the roads, sidewalks. I'd like to see us access the Sangamon River to expand our recreational opportunities. The last thing I would promote, last issue, would be finance. This year, our capital improvements budget is the lowest it's been in many years. It was the item that took us over budget by more than $300,000, and I would like to see us move things around the budget to accommodate more capital improvements and the benefits to our citizens.
Thanks for the intro, Brian, because that's my number one issue is working the budget differently, where we project out our capital improvements and start with that. So if we have $500,000 worth of capital improvements that we need to do, then we take the revenue that we have, we subtract that $500,000, then we bring our expenses in line with what we have left, and we don't do deficit budgeting. Number two would be the fiber optics. I don't know how many of you have online service, but it's very expensive and it's very fickle. I'd like to see that get out to businesses. I've known of a couple businesses that said, they just can't afford the online services that are available, or they're just no good. So I'd like to see fiber optics stretched out to the residents as well as the businesses, especially the businesses. The third would be to create more open discussion during council meetings. I would take my alderman time and I would have a discussion with anyone who wants to have a discussion on any topic they want to have a discussion on. I would eliminate the one-on-one meetings and have all that discussion occur in front of the public.
Outline the top three issues, is that correct, Mike? That we feel are facing us now?
Yeah, the top three issues that you would like to tackle, if elected, and which one is most important to you.
Well, I have to say that through my years of having been on the city council, there are a lot of issues that come to you that you just must deal with, whether you like it or not. And one of those issues currently, of course, is our wastewater treatment plant. So I think that's probably going to take up number one for a while we move through that. Secondarily, of course, with a new state government and Governor Rauner's trying to make Illinois viable again as a state, and he's put a lot of things out there, taken 50% of our income from the city, amounts to about $225,000, and that's a lot of money. We need to constantly identify revenue sources, as we just did recently with the aggregation agreement. So we'll have some little income coming in there, but every little bit helps. Obviously, infrastructure is something that you always have to keep on top of. And I think our city staff and our public works department has done an excellent job in filming the sanitary sewers, finding where we have problems, and then making sure that we get those fixed. And then thirdly, one issue that's close to my heart as Parks and Recreation Chairman is going ahead and developing our 30 acres out there for our recreation site for ball fields, soccer fields, basketball, etc. It was a little bit disconcerting to see the headlines in the paper about the schools. That's the number one, but it's been our number one for a long time. So That's what I'd like to see us move forward with.
My top 3 issues. My top issue, as I mentioned before, would probably be transparency. I'm a long-time advocate for open government, and I believe that the more people know, the more people see, the more they can get involved, and the better that the residents of Monticello can give the city council direction on what they want, what they need, and really sort of help direct, be involved in government. My second one, the fiber optic cable, has been mentioned a couple times. It's near and dear to my heart. I've worked in technology for 20 years, and well, I want it at my house. But I also think that it's a huge benefit for business. I've been involved in the past in the startup community around Champaign, and small startups are looking for places other than Champaign to start up shop. Champaign is expensive. And several have actually thought about moving to Monticello, but without the capabilities of getting their businesses connected. These are all technology businesses, of course. Without the capability of getting their technology businesses connected, Monticello just isn't an option. And finally, of course, we've talked about the potential funding cuts. That uncertainty is a potential problem for Monticello, and it's something that needs to be thought about. So we really need to step back again and look at what our budget is, look at what the future could bring, and decide on where is the best place to put the money and where is it going to give us the most benefit. Thank you.
My top 3 are very similar to everyone else's up on the panel. Infrastructure and developing, improving on the current infrastructure, identifying the problem areas and making sure that the budget is in place for those that need to be done and prioritizing those accordingly, as well as the water treatment plant, making sure that we're making the right choices for the future. And with the current budgets, economic development as well, getting more people to town, whether if it's for recreation or for businesses or for arts, just getting more people to town and getting people to want to live here and stay here. And as well, just the development of growth, having more opportunities of things to do, as well the recreation fields. I majored in Parks and Rec and I'm very involved in local organizations. My kids are involved and I'm on various boards, and I hate having to go out to other towns to watch my kids play home soccer games and baseball games. I really want to keep those kids in town and the teams that come and there are people that come to watch them in town. So those would be the 3 priorities.
Okay, thank you. Well, it sounds like there are a lot of general priorities that we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail here, but before we go on to some of that, I want one more question about you all as potential or as candidates. The city council is like any elected body, a group of individuals that may or may not come from the same perspectives and prerogatives. So talk a little bit about other experiences that you've had. I'm going to start with Mr. Keating. Talk a little bit about other experiences that you have had in working within a group or a team to advance a common objective, and how that might allow you to bring a strength to the council.
I realize that nothing can be done solo, that a consensus has to be built and there has to be buy-in from all of the other aldermen, for instance, and also the people who we serve. Those people in Ward 3 are the ones that I'm most interested in. And so it requires being a team player, and it requires giving up a lot that you're looking for to come to an agreement and to work together. So I understand that it will, that just being elected an alderman doesn't mean that your agenda can be met automatically, because you are, by definition, on a team of other aldermen. And that's the way it should be. Interestingly, in addition to that team that you work with and the administration, there is a certain amount of dissent in the community. there's a need for teamwork there too, because dissent is an integral part of the democratic process. It needs to be cordial, needs to be civil, but it's a very important part as someone looks over the shoulder of our government.
I work on a couple of different boards. One that comes to mind the most is the board of directors at the Monticello Area Education Foundation. That board's been faced with a number of important questions in the last year, and it was difficult for us to work together to find a common voice and continue to move forward with our missions. And I think it was a good learning opportunity for me. It was a good experience on how to work together with others, play towards people's strengths, try to build people up who may have a weakness in a particular area. And it was a very valuable experience. The most important thing, I guess, that I can say is, not only do all of us have similar top 3 issues that we have here, I think that's a great indication that we all have the best interest of the citizens of Monticello in mind. And I think if each alderman operates from that perspective, finding some common ground shouldn't be that difficult. And I think that open communication, talking in front of the public, debating the topics is important, and I think it would give a good perspective to the citizens of how well the council works together, but also how it works things out. And I feel that would be very important for the citizens of Monticello.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to take just a minute to take a liberty to clarify, because I think the two of you made a really good point. That really, I'm talking about the council as a group working on projects. And so I had a team in my, as I was rolling the question off, but I understand that not everybody has the same objectives. So I think you guys made good points in that. And so we're really talking about working as a group, and maybe a team is not the right term. Okay? Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Okay, so could you state it again?
Let me say it again. Talk about other experiences that you've had in working within a group to advance a common objective.
Well, my military service, we worked in teams, sections, platoons, battalions, divisions, to get our objectives done. From an exercise we call Reforger, which is Return to Forces Germany, 45 days of exercises over in Germany where the troops from the United States come over, and we coordinate those activities, and we make sure people are housed, and make sure there's communications, all that stuff. So I've been involved in many large operations involving groups where we had to work together to get things done.
I've been a independent contractor here in Monticello for quite a number of years, so I've worked with groups of employees. I've worked for those people who have saw fit to hire me to do something. It's always important to keep an open mind, to be able to change if you need to, but at the same time still be able to stand by those principles that you value, feel that are important to the citizens, people of Monticello. I know, I think what I can bring to the table is obviously my last 12 years of experience, some good, some bad, some indifferent, but nonetheless, experience, I believe, is one of the best teachers, and consequently, I have that experience. We've dealt with a lot of issues in the past 12 years, and I hope that the majority of people in Monticello feel that we have dealt with those issues in a manner that was going to be in their best interest. So as far as working with the group I have in the last 12 years, with very few exceptions, those that I've worked with have been amiable, agreeable, cordial, and civil. And that's what I've tried to be myself.
as far as teamwork is concerned, easily the largest team that I've worked on is the team I work on right now. I'm an employee at the University of Illinois, and we are currently in year 10 of the largest multidisciplinary research project focused on smart power grid cybersecurity. This project involves over 100 faculty, 200 or 300 staff, and about 1,000 students, 1,000 grad students, and a handful of undergrads. From all walks of life, from 4 different academic institutions, from 2 different national research labs, and from 5 different industry sponsors, all across the nation and all across the world. Working with such a diverse team means that you run into all manner of issues, from communication issues to just simply not seeing eye to eye, and you learn. And I would bring that experience to City Council, how to sit down and work through those problems in a calm manner, without allowing your emotions to get the best of you, and keep on track, keep on topic, and work through these problems so that you're getting things done that need to get done.
I've worked in a variety of different organizations in town. I'm a strong leader, but I also believe I'm a strong team player as well, because I do listen, I do talk to everyone and try to get everyone's opinions, gather information before I'm making decisions. I think that's very important, so I think that would be great. I'd be a great representative that way. If I don't have the right answers, I'm going to find out what everyone thinks and gather the information to make the best decision, and working well with others. I believe it's very important to have compromise when you work on a team. You're not always going to get the right outcome, or the outcome that you think is right, but yet working with everyone together in a organized, appropriate, respectful way. I'm not afraid to share my opinion either, but yet I respect other people's opinions as well. So just working together and everyone being respectful, I think, is extremely important.
I think that we've all probably had a lot of experience, whether it's growing up, youth, sports activities, working as part of a team towards a common goal, in school, whether you're part of a group or a club. I've worked with volunteer organizations on boards, and really a lot of my work experience has been not individual, but part of a team or group. So you have a lot of experience to kind of pull from, and when I look back over those and I kind of combine that with some of my formal education, and I know some of the specific classes when I was getting my master's were around organizational behavior. I think you learn how to operate within a group, and you learn that one of the keys is to staying positive, that you want to try and lift each member of the group up, highlight the strengths of each individual, because we are all different. And I think if you give everyone a voice, you try and maximize on their strengths, what you come up with is a sum that's greater than the whole of the parts. And that's kind of the ideal that you're striving for, is to get everyone equal voice, focused on what they do well and their strengths, coming together, working towards a common goal, and ultimately you can be very successful.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on to some business and commerce questions, and everyone, I think several of you anyway in your opening statements mentioned this as a priority or in the top 3 issues. So the Monticello Chamber of Commerce, our mission is to promote and support local business. So I'll just state it to you that succinctly, what, if anything, do you feel the city should do to promote and support local business?
How long do I get to answer this?
2 minutes?
Okay. The most important part of my idea for a downtown business development is a 4-part grant program. The first part is development grants that go toward startup businesses that lack maybe some of the funding for the first year's rent or inventory purchase. Second part is a retention grant. That grant would go to your anchor businesses that have been well developed and performed well, but seek to remodel, change their inventory stock, or expand. Third part would be a life safety grant. That grant would be given to the owners of the buildings to improve the structures. And lastly, it would continue the facade grant that we currently do. The funding from that, I believe, could be found in the current budget. Each year, we have a deficit budget to start, and by the end, we usually end up spending less. I think a more specific budget process could find the money available and earmark that towards these business development programs and be able to work those in. If you think about it, if we could find $60,000 in an available budget, give out $6,000, $10,000 grants, you know, how many empty spaces do we have in the downtown area now? If we could find 6 new businesses to fill in those areas, we'd really be doing something. In the Comprehensive Planning Commission, we talked about wanting to be a weekender community. Building that downtown commercial district is going to be the most important part of that, and that is my plan for that development. My plans for business development go far beyond that, but that's just the one aspect that I had 2 minutes to tell you about.
Well, as was mentioned earlier, if Governor Rauner's going after 50% of the income that they give to municipalities, that's not going to cut it. And that might get rid of the 1.5 budget deficit, but it's not going to cut the $111 billion retirement debt that we have. I think they're going to go after more. We currently give the Chamber of Commerce, Main Street, and one other entity over $50,000. I think some of that, of what Brian talked about, could come out of that money. But as far as the city goes, what can they do is to provide the cheapest, best services available. Make sure the roads are taken care of, make sure the sewers are taken care of, get the Wi-Fi up and going, the fiber, and provide that to businesses so that they have an advantage. Like we talked about, Champaign is very expensive there. Offer them an alternative here with state-of-the-art services.
Just so I understand, what you're wanting is, what do we feel we should do to continue to promote and support the chamber? Is that correct?
No. What, if anything, do you feel the city should do to promote and support local business?
Oh, okay. Well, I think obviously, you buy local if you're the municipality, which we do. I think take a look at the parking lot that's right out here, and each one of us drove here in a vehicle. Where'd they get the vehicle? Obviously, we have 2 of the best, biggest sellers in central Illinois, so hopefully they made their purchases from Rick Ridings or Bill Abbott. You know, that's what I'd like to see, and I try to do as much business as I can here because Monticello's always been good to me and my family for providing an income for us. I'd say too, and I know that it's the case, we have a community development director in Callan McFarland who I believe is just a gem. And I know that she works with the local businesses on many occasions to help them if they have problems, so I think that's important. The facade grant, I believe, is one of those that we use and it has developed and done very well. I think too, the fact that we sponsor workshops for businesses too in town. We don't have 100% full around the square, but we're always working towards that. And there are some of the buildings that are empty that have physical construction issues that don't allow them to be full at this time. Another thing too, I know in working with our new building inspector, Abe Jones, and with our fire chief, Rick Dupson, that it has always been and is a major concern for the buildings around the square and what we need to do to make sure that they're safety compliant. So we've been working on that a long time. It takes a long time to get those kind of things done.
So I think one of the most important things we can do to support local businesses really comes down to the fiber optic cable. As I mentioned previously, there are plenty of businesses that are really interested in moving out of Champaign, and Monticello tends to be high on their list. It's cost effective to live in Monticello. It's cost effective to have a business in Monticello. And so I do believe that the city really needs to take a proactive approach to building out the fiber. If that means doing it ourselves, that means doing it ourselves. If it means finding a contractor to do it for us, then that's the route we should go as well. But we need the capability to support newer technology businesses, and the fiber optic cable that gives us that.
I know there's a lot of different opportunities and ways that we can support the different businesses, and I look forward to continuing to learn what those are as far as grants that Brian spoke of, as well as some other ideas. But I also just think it's very important to keep the current businesses happy, and I think as they speak to other businesses, they'll continue to encourage them to come as well, to keep Monticello as an attractive community with, again, good streets, good infrastructure, families that are out and about, again, supporting the community. I also spoke with Callie McFarland and Mr. Alsop as well, and they have some great ideas, and I believe Callie does have some wonderful ideas, and she wants the businesses that are local to work together as much as possible to just keep things in town. And I think the more copacetic the businesses are, the more attractive it's going to be to come to town, as well as just financially, and just it's an attractive time to be involved in. So.
Yeah, I would like to highlight that I think the city has done a good job, and I hope that they continue, and candidates here's ideas are brought to fruition as well. We're going to continue to go in a positive direction. I think one theme you might pull from this is that there's a lot of interconnections, and so we can't talk about business development independently from a lot of the other topics because they are related. I definitely think that grant funding is a great idea, and something that we, if we're not doing to the extent we should, we need to improve. The fiber optic project, obviously there's a lot of potential there, but we have to just maintain the city of Monticello and the community, the value that we have right now and the image that we have. We've got to maintain that, because that's what draws businesses, and also draws families in. This, where we get and the ability to grow, and so every single item that we're going to talk about here tonight, I think, is as important and an integral part of the business development process.
In order to ensure that the businesses in this area flourish, the existing ones and potential new ones, we have to provide them shoppers. It's just that simple. And the shoppers come from increased employment from new industry, and they come from visitation. To that point, I would like to work with Callie Jo to help build an economic development visitation team, as it were, comprised of the Callie Jo, the economic development director, the mayor, the chief of police, to talk about the low crime rate, the school superintendent to talk about our exemplary school system, so that we can make visits to these businesses and to existing businesses who might have suppliers who would move here, to really tout this area as a place to do business and to bring their employees to live and to raise their families in a community like ours. The other one is, that I talked about, is visitation. And as an ex-director of tourism in St. Augustine, Florida, we drew from a lot of different sources to bring visitors to our town. To do that, we took a giant step back and took the time to brand the community, and that's what I recommend for Monticello. We need to do a study to brand Monticello, to define its unique selling position, to set Courthouse Square downtown apart from Allerton and the Railroad Museum, to make us a destination. More shoppers, healthier businesses, and a more secure business environment in the center of the city.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to ask another question that is along those lines. There are lots of different opinions about the type of business or commerce that fits well in different communities, and I know that's true in our community as well. So I would like to know, do you have, and we're going to start with Mr. Brown on this one, do you have an opinion on the type of commercial development that would best, or commerce, that would best benefit the city of Monticello? And what do you believe is the appropriate role of the city council, if any, in supporting or opposing certain types of commerce?
Well, back to the fiber optics. I think we're missing the boat if we don't develop that as fast as we can and get some high-tech industry in here. That's the future of business. As far as whether the city should be able to do anything,
What role should the city have?
well, again, providing infrastructure. And, you know, everybody knows government shouldn't pick winners or losers. So whether we should go after one industry versus another, I've always felt that if a business feels it can make money, it'll come. And we have a great grocery store. We have 2 gas stations. You know, we have 2 car dealers. We have some great assets in this community. And if we continue to build an infrastructure that maintains an environment for future business, I think they'll come.
Do I have an opinion on what type of business? Is that what you wanted to know first?
Do you have an opinion on the type of commercial development or business that would best benefit the city of Monticello? And what do you believe is the appropriate role of the city council, if any, in supporting or opposing certain types of commerce?
Okay. As far as what types of business, you know, it's whatever the traffic dictates for the town. If we need, for instance, another animal or veterinary clinic, I'm sure it would pop up. Obviously, we have quite a number of restaurants around the square, all good. We also have a lot of niche businesses around the square. You have to excuse me, I've got a bad cold. Secondly, the role of the city council in the businesses, I think we have to be proactive in recruiting them to come and locate here, you know, if they so desire. I know Cali does a good job with that. I'm not sure incentive-wise, you know, there are some cities who do offer incentives to business. At this point, I don't think we really are in that type of mode. We do, however, need to be encouraging with them as far as what services we provide. Water, sewer, fire, police, and then just a general overall, you know, probably one of the biggest comments I've heard Floyd talk about from other people is the beautification plan that we have. And that's something that's taken place under this administration while I've been there. A lot of people really. And you may not think, you know, it is a big deal, but when people come to town and they see all the beautiful plants and the flowers and the pots around town, it means a lot. It sets us apart. So I think the city works towards encouraging that kind of help to make it a more homey type atmosphere, which Monticello is.
I think that Well, I mean, technology business has been mentioned several times, and I do believe that technology is the future, and we really do need to build an environment that's friendly to technology. As the university's Office of Technology Management ramps up new grant programs that are encouraging students to start up new businesses, new technology businesses, implementing real-world applications of the research that's coming out of the university, those students, those new businesses are going to be looking for places to set up shop. And Monticello is a good place. It's a good place to have a business. But we need the infrastructure to support those new technology businesses, which brings us back to the fiber optic cable, which I've mentioned, I know, several times. But I do think that's important. It's important for the city's future. It's important for the future of business in Monticello.
I believe a sports complex would be beneficial, whether it's run by the city or it's a private company that comes in to run the complex. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, just as the pool. It brings people from other communities into our city. I think it would be attractive to get more families to come, create more jobs. As those people are visiting for tournaments or games, they are visiting our restaurants, they're shopping, they're visiting Allerton. And I believe the city council would have to support, of course, the infrastructure, the roads, the water, and the services that would go out to the complex, wherever that ends up being. But I do believe that again, we continue to make Monticello attractive to live in, to work in, and to have more businesses.
I think that the city council's role, like everyone's kind of defined, is to try to support business, to encourage and promote new businesses to come in, whether that's infrastructure related or services the city provides, just overall providing the right environment to keep businesses and to continue to get new businesses to come in. With respect to specific types of commercial business, the reality is we are a bedroom community in a nutshell, and so I think that whether it's technological business or consulting type business, artistic, creative businesses that don't necessarily need high traffic, lots of people going through in order to survive and thrive. I think we're a little bit more set up for. And so we should probably encourage maybe in those areas. But again, as other candidates have said, I think our goal, one of the main goals, is to continue to bring people, whether that's visitors or new residents, to the city, so that we are increasing the foot traffic and can provide a better environment for more businesses.
Well, of course, everybody wants clean, high-tech industry in their community, so as not to create a lot of smoke, a lot of pollution. But the high-tech industry is so possible for our town. Our proximity to the University of Illinois, our proximity to existing high-tech businesses in Champaign and Urbana, whose suppliers, whose providers might want to relocate here. But I was talking to the city and they said one of the big blocks to bringing in new business is, of course, the fiber optic availability, but space. Where would you put a new business? Can't really do it west of town. North of town is full. I guess you could move out toward Crossroads, or you could move south. And let's look at the south of Monticello with the dilapidated, empty, falling apart buildings that are there now. Here's an idea, and it's just an idea. I talk to people who say, Cochrane, ideas I've got, time I haven't. An idea might be to find a way to get control of those properties, raise those buildings, and turn that into a high-tech research park. As a business incubator, as a place for existing high-tech businesses to relocate. They would relocate in a family of like businesses, allied businesses, where they would feel very comfortable and at home. think that in answer to your question, the city must be seen as business friendly, provide tax incentives when appropriate, and again, find a way to provide that space.
All right, again, I'm going to try and squeeze this in the 2 minutes that I've got. I would chase after the technology industries. I believe healthcare, consulting, engineering are all businesses that we could attract to our community. The way that we do that is we put a sales package together. We go to healthcare conferences, we go to engineering conferences, we go to consulting conferences. We get Cochran on the radio doing an advertisement. I listen to WGN, and I swear to God, I want to open a business in Bedford Park because they are on there every 10 minutes. And that's how I would approach them. I think our economic director should be attending those places. We use folks like Mr. Tenhouse there, and we utilize the assets that we have, and we try to grow those businesses here in the community. Again, the comprehensive plan would like us to be, and I agree with this 100%, a weekender community that has folks from out of town visiting us over the weekend. To do that, I believe we need to expand retail businesses, specifically in the downtown area. A part of the economic development plan that I have with the 4 different grants, those grants, or 2 of those grants, the startup and the retention, would be approved by a steering committee made up of financial advisors, business developers, Chamber of Commerce members. Those individuals would be charged by the City Council of maintaining a good diversity of businesses in the downtown area. They would also be evaluating those business plans so that the city can be feel real assured that they're not just throwing the grant money away at a failing business. That steering committee then approaches the City Council and says, we've got this business with this plan, and the City Council can feel good approving those. And I think I made it in under 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to talk a little bit about budget and finance. And I want to ask first about some general philosophy kind of question on how you prioritize things, and we'll talk specifically about infrastructure, okay? So there have been several comments about the budget and deficits, and then also the state and the possibility of the state cutting funds, okay, to the city. So that leads to the question of priorities and how we deal with that. So tell us about your philosophy and priorities as they relate to taxpayer funds and the city budget in terms of tax rates versus capital improvements, spending priorities, debt reduction, etc. And any ideas you have regarding the city's financial management. I'm curious in particular also if the state would cut funds, how do you prioritize plugging that in? So general priorities on the budget. And we'll start with Mr. Hayes.
Our budgets that we prepare every year, obviously, we start with the head of the departments, be it Parks and Recreation or under our new Public Works Director, Jim Gabarzik, with them, with Scott Bailey at the water, and with John Evans at the wastewater treatment plant. And obviously Floyd oversees all of those, along with help from Maura, the new accountant, I guess you would say, but besides doing a lot of other things. So all of those, that's where our budgets begin. As far as the priorities, obviously there are a number of services that you just have to provide. They're given. So you can't do too much about those. You got to put them there. We look towards what the costs are going to be, and those are at best a guess. We also look at the revenues that we have, and obviously right now those could conceivably be up in the air. So I think it's important for us to begin to consider other streams of revenue. As I mentioned, we just did with electric aggregation, and we're looking at earmarking that towards a specific purpose too. So I feel in the 12 years that I've been on this time that we are in good shape financially. Well, much better than the state of Illinois, and it's thanks in part due to the staff and their fact that they've been extremely conservative make sure that we don't go overboard spending on stuff. You know, we haven't done anything that I would say would be extravagant at all. We support what we need to, we get done what we need to. Monticello, as Mayor Daley used to say for Chicago, Monticello is a city that works.
So I think the process, as Mr. Hayes outlined, is a great place to start. It's City Council's job to sort of ultimately oversee that process. We, the City Council, is ultimately responsible for that budget. I think it's important to focus on the things the city needs, the things that will help the city grow, such as economic development, to focus on these things first before the things that we want. Now, believe me, I want the rec center as much as anybody else. I have a daughter that plays softball, and it's horrible having to go out of town for all of our games. But we can't sacrifice the things that we need to do for the things we want to do.
I think the general priority would be safety, to make sure that the roads are safe, the water's safe, and everything, and that our public service with fire and police are where they need to be, which it sounds like we're at a great place right now, and I'm proud of that and glad of that, so to keep that stable. Again, prioritize the needs. I believe there needs to be more 5-year plans developed. Look at what those needs are and work on putting together some plans and working together to get those plans in place. And just work on the development.
I would like to say, I think, as a city, we are in a pretty good financial position, and ultimately the goal is kind of just to maintain that. I think some of the things we're doing, we don't need to change, but ultimately I want to make sure that we are using kind of a analytical approach, data-driven approach. As some of the other people have mentioned, looking at historical financials, but also really trying to project out as far as we realistically can, so that we are setting up a long-term plan. I think we definitely need to operate under the intention that the state at some point is going to take some of our funding, and we have to be prepared and working towards that. Right now, we're not necessarily a year-to-year budget, and I think you have to maintain that. You can't get caught in a situation where lack of funding puts you in a bind or pinch to where you could potentially have to short an area, because I think everything is important in the budget, as we've alluded to. The overall infrastructure, whether that's the public works, police and fire, water, sewage, these are all things that we have to maintain funding for. But we've heard some of the great ideas from these candidates thus far. We've got to make sure that we've got money for continued growth and things that are going to project Monticello where we want it to be.
I think that the state of Illinois must balance its budget. They are going to find other sources of revenue because we're in dire straits here in Illinois. Before we talk about bringing business into Monticello, we have to first talk about bringing business into the state of Illinois. And right now we don't have such a good reputation. I fully expect a cut in our share of the state income tax. However, independent financial publications predict a continuation of our corporate replacement tax, and that augurs well for not only the city of Monticello, but also our school system. Of course, another source of funding, and I've talked about it pretty much every time I've had the microphone, is the increase in retail sales, and therefore an increase in the sales tax revenue that goes to the city. Our budget becomes meaningless to me when I look at the numbers and the line items, because I don't have a point of reference. I need to know what percentages go to police, fire, administration, public works, etc., compared not to ourselves, but to other cities. So I'm researching other cities in Illinois of populations of about 5,000 and see how their budget is dispersed. By the way, as I did a study of various communities in Illinois of about our size, very few posted their budget online on their website. It was difficult to find. The City of Monticello not only publishes our budget, but they publish minutes of every meeting, agendas coming up, comprehensive plans, all of their plans for the future. It's easy, when we talk about transparency, it is easy to see what the City of Monticello is doing, how it's progressing.
I read somewhere this quote said, "The main difference between municipalities with excellent services and low tax rates compared to those with average or poor services and high tax rates is the degree to which they strive to find a better way to deliver services." I kind of see that as a way of approaching our budget and the possible crisis that could come down the line from the state of Illinois. Seeking to deliver our services in the most efficient way. I had the good opportunity to speak with Jim Barzik on a couple of social occasions about his philosophy towards budgeting and the public works, and Jim seems to have a really great mind for this. Having come from the Army Corps of Engineers, I feel confident that he has the best interests of the taxpayers in mind while looking to do the right thing by our public works. I think investing in asset management programs would be a critical part of the budget process. Between the I&I project and the sidewalks that need to be repaired and the streets that need to be replaced, this kind of program, well, and I should say including as well as other infrastructure like our water towers, above ground storage tanks, and wastewater treatment plants, these kind of programs assist the city in building efficiencies towards maintenance and replacement, as well as calculating what kind of rates need to be applied to those. I think those are good ways. Again, as the budget gets developed, we have spent tens of thousands of dollars to do a comprehensive plan, to develop a downtown strategic plan, to develop a 5-year strategic plan. Those things need to be brought to the table. They have priorities that the community has worked on for a number of years and spent a lot of money. Those need to be brought to the table each time to assist in in the development of the budget.
Well, Monticello has been blessed with the corporate replacement tax. We get $215 per person in town, where Mahomet gets about $2.15. It makes up about a fifth of our budget, and that is why we've been in such a great shape over the years. But over the last 5 years, since 2010, the income for the city's grown 15%, while the city administration expenses have grown 39%, and our capital improvements have decreased 68%. We do need a program, like Brian talked about, to inventory our roads, to prioritize our repairs. There's one community that had to petition the city council to get their road repaired. It's in terrible shape up in Turtle Creek. We have what's called a CMOM report. The state made us create a CMOM report 4 years ago. And as of last year, we did nothing with that. And what it does, it tells you to go out and take an inventory of your wastewater treatment infrastructure and identify the trouble areas, and then to prioritize when repairs would be made when money comes available. And we've done nothing with that. We started to do something. I'm excited about the new Public Works Director. I love his, activity report. But we can do a lot with our current budget. But we're running out of funds. We had $35,000 left over after expenses. So we're coming to the end where we have to either raise taxes or do without capital improvements.
Okay, thank you. So we'll get specifically now on capital improvements and infrastructure. A lot of talk about the need for infrastructure, and investment in infrastructure, and budgets, and all that kind of stuff. So it becomes important to know how do we prioritize that spending. So the question is, what are the 3 capital improvement or infrastructure projects that you feel are top priority and deserve funding? We'll start with Mr. Jones.
Well, I think number one has to be the fiber optic cable. I know I kind of sound like a broken record, but I really do believe that that's the single most important aspect of, you know, bringing new business into the city. In addition to that, I think we do need to take a look at our roads and sidewalks. There are some places that roads are in bad shape, and as Joe mentioned, you know, one community did have to petition the city to get work done on their roads. And of course, we've got the wastewater treatment plant that, you know, we're planning for the future and is going to need work soon. So we do need to plan for that and what that may mean to our budget in the future.
I look forward to getting more information and give a better answer on this, but I do believe public works, infrastructure that we've already discussed, the wastewater plant, I believe has been such an issue that many people have brought up, and I believe it's been maintained very well over the years, but there are going to be a lot of things that need to change with that from what I understand. And the fiber optic program, I'm going to learn a lot more about that soon. But I believe those are probably the three things that we need to do.
It's hard without having, you know, been on the city council or in the city government to necessarily give an accurate answer of what should be the most important. A couple of things that I think you've heard here tonight, they're definite priorities. The waste management plant. I know that talking with Mr. Alsop, there are plans in the works to get moving on some projects to improve the situation. And I think from his perspective, you know, the sooner we can do that, the better. Try to be proactive in some of these needed repairs, changes, so that we're not sitting in a position a year or two from now where the EPA is forcing their hand and kind of dictating the repairs or changes we need to make. And if we take a proactive approach, we can kind of potentially guide the way we want to do things. I think with roads and maintenance, again, talking with Mr. Alsop, it sounds like they've got a plan in place going forward, you know, where we are going to identify needs, try and plan out repairs strategically. Obviously, you know, everyone's road is important to them, but we have to prioritize. And I think if you have a proper plan in place and that you do have, you know, kind of a rotation, that going forward you can maintain roads in good repair throughout the city. That's important. And again, so much talk has been brought up about the fiber project. You know, it sounds like it probably is an important project for the community to get a little more information and get more involved in.
Now, before I answer that question, I want to say, and let everybody hear me, that I know nearly every person on city staff and on the various boards, and each of them has a great love for the city of Monticello and has chosen to dedicate their lives to making this an even better place. That's important to say because when I list those three, I want you to know that those people are, quote, all over it. Wastewater treatment. Funding is potentially in place. As the city of Monticello, I'm led to understand, has been approved and accepted for a long-term, very low-interest loan from the EPA that would avoid a bond referendum and increase taxes. The draining problem that we have, the drainage and the flooding is being addressed. Public Works takes care of the roads and the sidewalks pretty darn well. And they do it many times, not only on company time, but on their own time. And so I think that the city is to be lauded for what they have done to make Monticello a better place to live and to keep our quality of life high.
The first priority for me would be the wastewater treatment plant. I might take a little bit of a different approach. The current design that has been approved for discussion with the EPA loan cost the city $8.5 million, and while it will save us some maintenance costs, there will be increased electrical and sludge disposal costs. I think there's an opportunity for the city to save the taxpayers some money by installing a solid waste furnace that could generate electricity and eliminate the sludge. Those would bring those costs down. And there's a theme to the ideas that I'm going to have here as far as infrastructure. The priorities of infrastructure that I see as opportunities for either saving money or building revenue, which should both be critical towards that budget that we just got done talking about. So after the wastewater treatment plant, second would be the fiber optic. Google has spent millions of dollars wiring 9 different cities across the southeast and southwest. The reason that Google would spend that much of their own money to do that is because there is financial gain to be had with a wired community. The city of Chattanooga went out and wired their entire town all by themselves. Since then, they have seen an increase of 6,000 jobs to that community. Clearly, I'm not thinking that 6,000 jobs are going to be happening here, but access to the fiber optic is certain to help the business environment and build our revenue. Lastly, roads and sidewalks, but I think though a priority for those need to be in areas of opportunity where a house that could be purchased for $100,000, $120,000 that has a nice sidewalk and a beautiful curved road in front of it could be purchased at $120,000, remodeled by an individual, and increase its value to $175,000, $200,000. Those are the kind of things that, again, would build that estimated assessed value and return greater revenue to our community.
Okay, back to the broken record. The inventory of our roads and the kind of grading of them so that we have an idea of what needs to be repaired first, next, how much it's going to cost, get a better handle on where our expenses are going to be with our infrastructure and the roads. Same way with the sewage and drainage issues. We do have a problem with the wastewater treatment plant that we get a lot of inflow through problems with our drainage and into the sewer pipes, so we have to flush sewage into the streets, and our tank ends up getting full of rainwater. But there is no mandate to update our wastewater treatment plant. It's getting old, and we need to replace some parts. They're getting harder to find. But we've known about this problem since 2008, and while we put aside money for athletic fields, we're not putting aside any money for the wastewater treatment plant. Then fiber optics. Yes, I think we can do wonders with that, and I'd like to see us move 100%. That would be my top priority.
The 3 capital improvement projects that deserve funding, is that correct, Mike? What you?
Your 3 priorities.
Okay. Obviously, the wastewater treatment plant, whether it's mandated or not, it needs to have some work done. If you've ever taken a tour of it, and you see stuff that was put in there during the WPA times in the 1930s, and the fact that it is still operating, it's a shock. So obviously the wastewater treatment plant, as far as other economies are concerned with the design, I'm not an engineer. I don't have a stamp. We hire those people. We go along with them. the engineer is the one that's gonna tell us what we should use and how we should develop it. So I'll just go along with the engineer on that. Secondly, for me, developing our 30 acres that we purchased not too long ago for our recreation facility, I think that's a priority. We have earmarked some funds for that for the future to be able to use to match grants that we're anticipating. Other infrastructure too. I think obviously I am probably the least technocrat person up here as far as fiber optics, but I do want you to know that I did vote for that. I think that's important to bring it off the interstate and bring it into our town and set it up around along with the county, the city, the schools, and the library. That was very important. So I'm proud of the fact that we did bring fiber optics here.
Okay, thanks, and we'll have just, I guess, 2 more questions and then closing statements, and the first question is really sort of a follow-up on that. So we've established it's nice to have infrastructure projects, and it's great to have great community recreation type projects, all within the context of a budget that can sometimes be fairly tough, right, with some potential stresses coming. So the question really is on how you decide to prioritize between the two. How do you rank or compare the importance of infrastructure improvements to quality of life improvements, such as recreational facilities? So infrastructure improvements versus things that maybe are parks and recreation, quality of life, people like to enjoy them things. How do you rank and compare the importance of those two? And we'll start with Ms. Bennekamp.
Yeah, I have my own personal opinions, but I also think as an alderman, I'm representing my ward, and it would be going out and talking to those people and asking them what their opinion is, and that's why they have the right to vote on choices too. We think that everything's important, infrastructure, safety, going back to that safety. But I also think Monticello, we all are here for a reason. And it's also just the great quality of life. So whatever we can do to enhance that, as well as the safety, I think it's up to everyone in the community to make that decision. So I think it's up to us as a city council and Chamber of Commerce to represent the community in the best way we can.
I think that Lisa's answer is pretty much about the only right one there is. As a council member, you know, we do have our own opinions, and that potentially shape the way we go about things, but ultimately we represent a ward, and we want to be a voice for that ward. And so when it comes to issues like this, you know, we talk about transparency and getting information to the residents. I think this is an area where it becomes absolutely critical. So when you have issues that need to be brought to the city, or, you know, things that could be controversial, part of my plan would just be in general, you know, my ability to communicate with the residents, make sure they're in touch with what's going on, and that I'm getting kind of an open dialogue and constant feedback from them. But there's also a time and place where you might have, whether it's simply canvassing the neighborhood, whether it's a, you know, ward meeting where you can disseminate information or get some kind of public thought. Ultimately, our job is to, you know, like Lisa said, you know, make sure that the quality of life and the idea that it is Monticello stays the way it is, but to represent our residents and the members of our ward appropriately.
One of the first things that I noticed when I moved here, when the family moved here, is that I always heard street sweepers outside. I always heard snow removal equipment. And it was unusual because I never heard that where I came from. It occurred to me that the city takes great care of the way it looks, making sure that the drains are not clogged with leaves, making sure that the streets are clean. You know, to get to athletic fields, to get to a theater association presentation, or the schools, or the churches as social constructs, first you gotta get there. So obviously, roads, sidewalks, police and fire are primary. And then you can focus on the other things, because you have, first of all, you have to get there. But that doesn't diminish the need for the other. They work hand in hand, but you ask for the priority, and even though they're apples and oranges, the basics have to come first.
I'm sorry, Mike, and I'm pretty sure I did the same thing to you 2 years ago, but I'm not going to answer that. I think choosing between recreation and infrastructure is almost the definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face. These are all parts of the whole. And if politics is truly the art of compromise, these are all things that a city government has to look at and take bits and pieces of all of it, because you're never going to satisfy the wishes of every single person, and you need to approach these things, these priorities, in such a fashion. And so I'm sorry, Mike, but I'm going to go with that answer.
Oh,
Well, I agree with Lisa in that I have a personal opinion, but I would represent my ward, and I would go around, canvass my ward, and learn their opinion. But I would say that if I were working on a project, or the project came in front of the council, that was a multi-million-dollar project, I would try to get that put to a vote to the public. But Cochran, I think the reason you didn't hear snowplows is because you lived in Florida. But I would agree with you too that the basics are the priority, and then come the recreation.
So we're to rank the infrastructure as
How do you prioritize and rank the importance of infrastructure improvements versus quality of life improvements? Yes.
It's a balancing act, obviously. You got a pothole, or you're going to buy a baseball, you're probably going to fix the pothole first, and then get the baseball later. I think one adage that I like is, in most organisms, no change and no growth usually are defined as death. So we have to continually change and grow, and our infrastructure is probably the skeleton of that change and of that growth. Fleshing it out, however, is the quality of life. The posies in your hand, the ball glove, the baseball bats, the structures that the kids use to play football and soccer. And then, of course, several years back, the voters decided that we should have a new pool, and so we went forward with that. So all these things are part of Monticello. Push comes to shove, it's going to be, again, one of those balancing acts. You do have to take care of infrastructure, because that's what brings people here. But at the same time, they're brought here because, as Lisa said, as everyone up here pretty much has said, Monticello is a great town to live in. And it's not just because of infrastructure, it's because of what the quality of life is here. And we've discussed that many times with the staff, City of Monticello, with Floyd, with Callum, with Mindy, with Carlos, that quality of life is what brings people here. So we have to keep that moving forward too.
Quality of life versus infrastructure, it's a really difficult balance to keep. And as just about everybody else has said, it really is the voters that have to make that decision. They're the ones that put us in office, and it's their city. And like everybody else, I, of course, have an opinion. And my opinion is that you really do have to focus on infrastructure first. Infrastructure brings in business, and business brings in revenue, and revenue gives us the opportunity to focus on the quality of life things. So we really do need to focus on the infrastructure that's going to help us build an economic environment that will allow us to build better quality of life things. But in the end, it's the voters. It's the residents of Monticello that have to make this decision, and ultimately they will.
Okay, thanks. Last question, and then we'll go to closing statements. I'm sure that you all have, in your desire to run for council, either an idea about how things will change or about how things will continue. You have something in mind in terms of a vision. So let me just kind of ask you generally, what do you see Monticello as? Where do you see Monticello going, for lack of a better term, in the next 5 to 10 years? Let me start with Mr. Norman.
Well, I don't know that I have specifics as far as a 5 to 10 year vision, but probably like most people, and from the themes tonight, I think we need to continue to expand our population base. I think that's relying on infrastructure, quality of life aspects of the city, continue to grow potential developmental sites so we can have new subdivisions and handle the increased growth. Business development, obviously, if we did go forward with the fiber optic project, we're looking for exponential growth from a business and potential revenue standpoint there. But I think the key thing for me would be, and what I truly love about Monticello is that it is unique from a kind of a rural town, bedroom community. We've got a lot of attractions and amenities the towns of our size don't have, and so while I think that change and growth is important, and I want to make sure we continue to do that, because as Tim said, if you're not changing and growing, essentially you're dying. I think we've got to maintain kind of the historical aspects and part of what makes Monticello unique and different. And so it's the blending of those two, prosperous growth while maintaining the image and the idea that is Monticello and our uniqueness.
I would like to see Monticello continue to be the social, cultural hub of Pine County. That's my desire, my dream. It all starts with the downtown area, the historic downtown area, and it's been that way for hundreds of years, 100 years plus anyway. I do not want to see Monticello become soulless, to lose our persona, to become a boarded up non-entity with a bunch of houses and no other reason to exist except to provide housing for people who work in Champaign-Urbana. So I would hope that we protect our history and our tradition and pay special attention to the center of our town. We all, as we grow, need a place to come back to, a recognizable place, that corner where the tree grew, the place where that school was, or the house that Miss Marvin lived in. Okay, I made that up. But I come from a community that changed so much since I was a little guy that has become unrecognizable to me, and I can't go home again. So I think that it would be a wonderful thing for the people in Ward 3 and for all of us to protect what we've got and to preserve our rich tradition and our rich history. That's where I would like to see Monticello.
I probably fascinate about this subject more than I should. when I look at Monticello, when I see Monticello and I think about its future, I see a vibrant downtown where the storefronts are filled with retail, restaurant, and artisan businesses. Tourists come in from out of town, they fill those businesses and they purchase their goods and the food. They stay at a quaint little inn or bed and breakfast that's just off the square. They rent sporting gear, rafts, canoes, kayaks, bikes, along with the local citizens from a new sports retailer that we have. And they enjoy our bike paths. They enjoy new access to the Sangamon River. They take those rafts, or maybe in the wintertime they take their cross-country skis from Monticello and go out to Allerton Park. On the weekends during the fall and summer, they go to a Monticello Railway Museum function. That night they go to a Monticello Theater Association production, and they enjoy a dinner in the downtown area. But before they leave the next morning, they purchase a few things from Out of the Blue Pottery, or Prairie Fire Glass, Pearls and More, or any of the other businesses that we might be able to bring into that area. As far as the citizen goes, I'd like to see us continue the high level of professional citizens that we have here. We do that by bringing in those technology businesses. The healthcare, the engineering, the consulting. We do that specifically with the fiber optic we have, as well as the community of Monticello, which we all consider to be such a tremendous asset.
Now, are we supposed to be talking about us as aldermen, or just in general? Because, you know, these are, I agree with Keating and, or Cochran and Bryant, as far as the vision for what we'd like to see. As an alderman, I would like to see that we maintain a superior level of maintenance on our water, sewer, streets, infrastructure as far as internet and cable, and provide every citizen, regardless of income level, with the hometown feel that we have now. And as an alderman, I'd work to maintain that and increase that. Increase it to a point where we can put away enough money for the ball fields, for more recreation for kids, so we can go out to Allerton with our cross-country skis.
Well, you were asking where do we see Monticello in the next 5 to 10 years, our viewpoint.
Yes.
Obviously, the strategic plan that we had a company put together, and a number of citizens participated in that. That's their goal. But having sat on the council for 12 years this time, a lot of times reality, you know, it's nice to talk about, you know, a full downtown and businesses here and the high tech with the fiber optics, but in reality, all we can do as a city council is just encourage and be open to those businesses. At this point in time, one of the things that I see that I wish we had on the drawing boards was a new subdivision, but we don't. We've got some possibilities, but they aren't there, and you've got to have subdivisions in order for people to move into town and be a part of our city. So I'm hoping that we move forward with some of those. At the same time, I think we are business friendly. I know with our community development director, Callie McFarland, she's always working on stuff. I noticed, or she has mentioned before, that she has to play quite a bit close to the vest because she can't divulge information from individuals or companies that are seeking to possibly come here. So as far as transparency is concerned, I think we are as transparent as we can be. and I've never turned anybody down when they've come and wanted to talk to me about anything. So what I'm saying is 5 to 10 years from now, it'll still be a great place to live.
Well, that's some tough visions to follow. And I have to concur with just about everyone. Though I'd like to add rock climbing to Brian's list. And you know, my daughter's out there nodding her head as well. I do think it really does come down to focusing on the infrastructure needs that will bring in new businesses. It really does ultimately kind of center around having the resources to be able to make those quality of life things, you know, better. And that really does come from getting new businesses in, and technology businesses are really the way to go. They pay high salaries. They make large revenue. And you know, looking out 5 or 10 years, you know, this really does come back to the fiber optics. We really do need to make our community more attractive to new high-tech businesses.
I think Monticello has a great future, whether it's in 5 years or 10 years or even in the next few months. I think there's so many people that want to be part of those plans, and I think plans is the important word there, that we need to develop plans, have the committees, get our voters letting us know, or everyone that lives in our wards letting us know what they want, and moving forward so everyone wants to stay in town, or come to town, or be in town. But responsibly moving forward, I think, in whether it's business-wise, or recreation-wise, or infrastructure-wise, or fiber optic-wise, I think just being responsible and working together with that. And I think Monticello's got a great future in the next 5 to 10 years, and I hope to be a big part of it.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we're going to move into closing statements. And we're going to start with Mr. Keating. So keep in mind, closing statements, we're cutting you back to 1.5 minutes for closing statements.
As I said in the beginning, my goals are to represent Ward 3, to advocate for the businesses in Monticello and the arts, economic development, by providing more shoppers, both local and visitors. When I lived in St. Augustine, I was an adjunct at Flagler College and taught a broadcast journalism course called Sides of the Circle. My whole goal in teaching that course was to let the students know that there is no black and white, there's no yes and no. There is a continuum in a large circle of opinions, and like belly buttons, we all have them. I also want to say that there is nothing easier to critique than the status quo. The person who does nothing is never criticized. They're not even noticed. It's the people who go out there and are active, proactively making Monticello a better place, working hard because they love it. And there is not a person in this room tonight who doesn't have that love for this city. So even though we represent different points along that circle, and I'm going to go back to one of Mike's earlier questions, we need to find ways to work together as a team to make Monticello an even better place to live. Thanks.
Before I begin, I would first like to extend my appreciation to the Monticello Chamber of Commerce and Crossroads Church for hosting us tonight. Thank you very much. Denise, thank you very much for all your organization. I have to say that I am disappointed that Tom Reed wasn't here tonight, because I really would have liked to see how my ideas matched up to what he had to say as a candidate. My ideas that I had tonight, I was fortunate to be able to express them with pretty good detail. These are things that I have developed over the years that I've been associated with attempting to be on the city council. I've talked them out ad nauseum with my wife Katie. When she gets sick of hearing me, she usually pitches me off to Brian Shore, who I work out with a couple mornings a week. So, Brian, thank you for coming out tonight. My ideas are ones that I think that are going to save our citizens money. They're going to increase our revenue. This is part of my work on this, my thought process. I think describes the passion that I have for this community and to be a part of the city council. And I'd just like to say, if you want an alderman that's going to work his tail off to provide Monticello citizens with the best amenities and infrastructure while attempting to keep taxes and fees to a minimum, I would say vote for Brian Fulton and vote Fulton for Monticello.
Governor Browner in his current budget proposes a 50% cap. We've talked about that. And the plan may solve the $1.5 billion shortfall in his budget, but it's not going to solve the $111 billion pension deficit. So we can count on him to come back for more. We, like mentioned, the corporate replacement tax. We are very fortunate with that, but that's on the table. And we've talked about that might go away. We don't know, but there is a budget shortfall that has to be answered. And he says he's going to do it. So we've got to feel like that's on the table. We have to do a better job at managing our expenses and getting every penny of our dollar worth. Like I said, between the years of 2010 and 2014, we had a 15% income increase. At the same time, just the city administration expenses have increased 39%, while our capital improvements have increased 68%. So we talked about the great things that we could do, the ball fields, everything else, but we've cut capital improvements 68% from 4 years ago. We've raised fees and taxes 3 times in the last year, and I see Larry. Okay, well, I appreciate it, and I ask for your vote on April 7th.
Next few years are going to be an exciting time for our city as we move forward with the upgrades in the wastewater treatment plant, first major ones in 40 years. We're also progressing with many upgrades of our infrastructure. Our excellent city staff and multi-talented public works employees allow us to facilitate many projects at a low cost and provide jobs here in our hometown. We also now can begin to implement the citizens' voices with our new city strategic plan, the downtown plan, and the bike path plan, all visionary documents for our future. In my term as an alderman of Ward 1, we've addressed and begun to implement many of these. The flooding issue, not only on the east side, but also on the south side. As Parks and Rec Chairman, I've helped with 3 new bike paths, future development over 30 acres, the new family aquatic center as approved by our voters, the implementation of a not-for-profit rec foundation. One of the first things that was done with was the dog park. There have been other projects, but I've always endeavored to serve the citizens to the best of my ability and with an eye to the future. Our great town needs positive, experienced leadership to keep us moving forward.
Well, as has been mentioned several times so far, we do face some financial uncertainty in the near future. In light of that, it's important to take a careful, thoughtful approach to city governance, and we must apply sound analysis and budgeting to budgeting and other city decisions. We cannot allow emotion and overreaction to cloud the planning process. The future of Monticello really depends on it. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you all once again for being here and ask for your support on April 7th. Thank you.
Well, as you probably noticed tonight, I don't have statistics memorized, and I may not have all the right answers, but I tell you what, I'm going to do all I can to talk to people in the community, to talk to the city employees, to talk to everyone else that would be on the city council, to find out and make the best decision I can make based off of everyone else's opinions.
for hosting us. For those on TV who maybe didn't catch the beginning, my name is Seth Melton. I'm running for Alderman for Ward 2. I appreciate this forum tonight, the opportunity to explain a little bit more about myself and my views. I would hope that you will see me out in the ward and in the community. If you have questions, concerns, you would like to find out more, please come and talk to me. Part of what I want to represent is an open dialogue and good representation for our ward. To give you a quote, I had a poster in my room growing up, and it's one of those cheesy, positive, quotes. But it said, "Our attitude, not our aptitude, is most often to determine our altitude." And I am new to city government. I might not have that aptitude yet, although I will learn and grow and get that knowledge. But I can assure you I have the attitude. I have passion for this city. I was born and raised here. I brought my family back here. I want my kids to grow up here. I have passion for the city of Monticello. I want to make sure that it continues to be the great city that it is. And I want to be a positive influence and conduit for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think all of our candidates deserve a round of applause. We talked an awful lot about a lot of tough decisions that have to be made, budgets and priorities and that kind of thing. And the reality is that leadership is about making decisions under the burden of consequence. So it's easy, everybody wants to make the decision when it doesn't count, you don't have to live with it, right? Or when there are no consequences, but that's really what you're all aspiring to do. And so however it turns out, I'm grateful for that aspiration and appreciate the time that you took tonight. And then for everybody who took the time to come tonight, or to watch on TV or the internet, to be involved in the process and to take an interest, I think it's all very important. So thank you very much to the candidates and thank all of you very much. And that is going to wrap it up. Have a great